Yo, 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 yo. What's up, what's up, what's up, what's up, what's up? Warrior Since Now One podcast once again showing up for you guys. Your boy Izzy Too Real. I know the brim a little low, so my eyes look a little low or whatever, but and I don't mean in the high sense. I mean just literally it looks dark or whatever, so let's lift it up. There you go, boom. How y'all doing, man? One more time. And we just getting done watching the Warriors versus the Houston Rockets game, man. And hey, good looking team so far, man. Starting off the season, so we're gonna get into that this week here on Warriors Since Now One. I don't know what episode this is. Episode 3, I think this is. So, let's see what we gonna get into today. Where my paperwork at? You know, I'm just kind of doing this pro bono, just again right after the game, to try to get this in. Usually I do this every week to try to give like a recap of the Warriors week and then what I thought about it. And then also now what I'm adding in too for this podcast for this week, especially because I've been watching really everybody since this is the NBA's opening week. Teams that excite early is going to be another segment that I got on here. I got two teams that really excited me. I watched two of their games, and even though things might not have went the way that they wanted to as far as like the win-loss category, still was exciting games to watch, a lot of energy, but we're going to get into that. As far as the Golden State Warriors, 2-1 on this first week if you count today, Sunday, which Sunday really does start a new week, but whatever. 2-1 first week here in the NBA season. They look pretty good, and honestly, to tell you the truth, there's a chance they actually could have even been 3-0 on the first week. That first game of the season against the Phoenix Suns, they did drop 104 to 108, but it was a game that they actually could have won. It was Devin Booker's heroics at the end that actually stole that game for Phoenix. So, you know, as far as the way that this team has been playing, the whole big talk has been about the starters and the bench and all that type of stuff. As far as that goes, it's not really a big deal whether Chris Paul's in the starting lineup or whether Chris Paul comes off the bench. The team looks good either way it goes when he's in the lineup. Now, when he's out of the lineup, the team looks a little, discombobulated a little bit. Still a lot of controlled chaos with a lot of turnovers. But when he's in the game, they actually look like a competent team, and they look like a team that can actually get to blow teams out. But the way Steve Kerr does his rotations, you don't want to tell a guy how to coach his own team, but the way that he does his rotations, a lot of times Chris Paul ends up out of the game for a long time. And I get it. They're trying to preserve his body for the long haul. It's a long season, 82 games, and already getting done with 3. It's a long season, so I understand what they're doing, but the team is a little different when Chris Paul's not on the floor. So seeing that and the way that the team plays when he's out there has been great, especially like today's game. I'll get into it a little bit later on as far as the Rockets game, but just seeing the second unit and how Chris Paul can integrate it with the second unit and make them much, much better. Being able to increase leads, being able to steady the ship, if you will, and even if the starting lineup gets down, they're able to come in the game and regain the lead and actually build on it. So I like what I'm seeing as with Chris Paul being on this team, as with him as the new acquisition to the team. A lot of people were down on it. A lot of people were shitting on it, excuse my language, but I never was a doubter from the jump. Never was. You can go back and check what episode 1 or whatever. Or even the season schedule release that I did of the podcast. I never was a downer on the Chris Paul acquisition. I always was up on it because, again, Chris Paul's always been one of my favorite players. Just knowing that he knows how to play the point guard position has always been something that I've always wanted to master as a player myself. Never was able to do it, but seeing somebody who mastered it the way that he does, I knew he would be a big acquisition, no matter if it's for the starters or if it's for the bench players. So that's pretty big. As far as for Steph goes, Steph is going to do Steph things. Steph has been amazing to start off the season. 27 points in game 1, a 40-burger game 2 against Sacramento, and then this past game here against the Houston Rockets, I believe it was either 21 or 22, where he went for a flurry at the very end after only having 10 points the whole quarter. So Steph has been, not the whole quarter, but the whole game. But Steph has been amazing to start this season off. And to tell you the truth, you really don't want to lean on Steph so heavy early on in the season, the way that we kind of have been the first 3 games. But we have to figure out the chemistry. We have to figure out spots. We have to figure some things out for this team to be an even better team than what they're showing out on the basketball court. So as far as Clay has been looking pretty damn good. The first couple games. Let's take that back. The first couple games, his jumper was not there. This game against the Houston Rockets, his jumper has come back to form. And I said on the episode 1, I believe, that I wouldn't be mad if Clay went on was cold for the first couple games of the season because that's typically how he starts off. And if Clay starts off that way, then we know that he can end up righting the ship later on in the season because that's usually how it goes. That's how his trajectory is when Clay is out there playing. So I think that's big. Loon, averaging double-digit rebounds is going to be my prediction for Kevon Looney. He's been amazing on the boards, especially the offensive boards. Been amazing out there. Pretty much 11 rebounds every game. So he's been great. I just predict that he will keep up that trajectory. He usually plays all 82 games. Loon's the ultimate Iron Man. So I do believe that he will average double-digit rebounds for the first time in his career to end the season. But after all, that's been great. But let's get into the first game against the Phoenix Suns. I'm not going to do the full recap quarter for quarter like I did the last season. But this time we're just going to do little recaps. As far as the game goes, pretty good game. The Warriors were pretty much, they did not have a good game. They were clunking shots the whole game, which is pretty typical for the opening game. And me, I'm the type of guy that like to go on X or Twitter, whatever one you want to call it, and especially Bleacher Report and go into like the chats, the fan chats, and see what everybody's saying and interacting there. And you could just see everybody was, down on the game against Phoenix, and it was like I actually typed in the chat, this is the opening season game. This is typical. Teams don't shoot well. You still have to get into a rhythm. And for the Warriors, just historically, we have not ever really been a good team on opening night. Just historically, I remember back in the days like 2003, 2000, even 2010, like we would get blown out on opening night. Hell, KD's first game as a Warrior, we were blown out against the San Antonio Spurs. So I remember those vividly. So that's why I didn't really panic. And just to see the whole game go out or play out, and it was pretty close the whole way through. Devin Booker and Josh Okogie was really the main cogs for why Phoenix was even still in that game. Kevin Durant had a horrible game, 7 for 21 from the field. Did not have a good game at all. The Warriors did, at the beginning of the game, did show him great respect, appreciation, adulation, all the above, with a great package just because it was his first game playing with fans at Chase Center. So it was a great experience, and that could have been the reason why he really did not have a good game. You know how those things kind of work out, but all in all, the Warriors did come out with a loss. It was actually a Devin Booker assist to, I believe, Josh Okogie in the lane. If not Josh Okogie, then it was Jusuf Nurkic, one of the two. It was a great assist that really kind of put the seal on the game and ended it after having a tie ball game, I believe, at 102. And Phoenix kind of goes up by 4 to end the game. So it ended up being a 104 to a 108 loss. But still, overall, good game. And again, it took some Devin Booker heroics at the very end for Phoenix to even pull that out. And the Warriors shot terribly from the field, 35% from the field. Phoenix didn't shoot it really even better. I think they were, 38%, 39% from the field. So both teams didn't shoot good, which is, again, typical for opening night. But Steph, 27 points. Clay did not really have a good shooting night, but I believe he ended up with 11 points on the night. Andrew Wiggins had a tough night. And to tell you the truth, for me, and speaking in future tense as well, he's not had a good open to the season. It's been very rough for Andrew Wiggins to start the season off. The jumper just really has not been there. Even his layups has not been there. He's been making free throws a little bit better, at a better clip this season so far, but just the layups and the three-point shot especially, it just has not been there. The mid-range has not been there. But what I would give him his props for, especially I think this is because Chris Paul's there, he has making it a point to drive the ball more instead of settling for mid-range jumpers. So that right there, I could show more appreciation for Wiggs with that, but I just need him to turn his game up a little bit more. But he had 10 points opening night against the Phoenix Suns. And Chris Paul, first game as a Golden State Warrior, 14 points, 9 assists. Chris Paul's going to get his assists every night, especially with this team. With Steph and Clay being able to shoot the way that they have been, with Moses Moody being able to knock down threes at enormous clips right now. 42%, I believe, from the field right now so far in 3 games for Moses Moody. Jonathan Kuminga's been able to drive and get to the cup, being a great slasher. So Chris Paul's going to get his assists, and I think that that's what's going to be a big thing moving forward for the Golden State Warriors. But all in all, still a pretty good game. I was entertained with the game, even though it was a loss to start off the season 0-1, but they'll pick it up later on. We'll go to game number 2. Game number 2, which was the thriller, the phenomenal thriller out there in Sacramento, up I-80 for my Northern California people. Great game to have at the beginning of the season. And we know the way that Sacramento has been on an upward trajectory since Mike Brown has taken over the realms as the head coach of the Sacramento Kings. And with them having Domantas Sabonis, Malik Monk, De'Aaron Fox, especially being their superstar, this team has been able to rise. And to start off the game, it was pretty much mostly the Warriors. But then Sacramento was able to build a 10-point lead that the Warriors were able to fight back from in the second quarter. And then by the time the third quarter came, the Warriors blow the game wide open, going up by 21 at the most. But then when the fourth quarter comes around, Sacramento goes for their blitz to try to catch up. And really, this is the big point I want to talk about with this game. The biggest thing that really helps Sacramento even make a game out of this game was the 2 turnovers from Klay Thompson. And I love Klay, I do, but Klay does boneheaded things at times. Sometimes he can be a bit of a dunce, by the things that he do. And like it was a layup that he missed, and he tried to blame it on somebody else. Then there was a point in the game where he had threw the ball away. It was right after the inbound, and he was trying to get the ball inbounds and then wasn't able to do so. So then he ended up throwing the ball away to one of the Phoenix Suns players. So that was very tough for us to see, but it helped. Sorry about that, guys. I'm trying to make sure that everything is going right with the computer, the laptop, whatever. But yeah, it was the turnovers by Klay. And when Klay made those turnovers, it really helped Sacramento change the momentum in the game. And that's what able to get De'Aaron Fox a couple wide open shots. It was able to give Malik Monk a 3, able to give Sabonis some easy light touches in the lane. So those things you want to kind of stay away from. And that was supposed to be the thing that got why Chris Paul was here, to be able to help with those situations so they could be able to sustain when the press comes. Because there was a couple times in this game where Steph was pressed, were double teamed by members of the Sacramento Kings, and there were some turnovers that happened. So when Chris Paul was in the game, those turnovers rarely even happen. So we want to be able to keep Chris Paul on the floor as much as possible without threatening long term for him or for us as far as the Golden State Warriors go, because you want to keep him on the floor, especially when playoff time come around. But still, the Warriors win the game. Steph goes for 40 in this game. Very, very, very hot. For some reason, Steph was always hot in this building, and then just to find out today that the reason that Steph always has good games in Sacramento is because of the popcorn that they always have ready for him when he's there. So maybe Steph shouldn't have revealed that, because they might stop giving him the popcorn because they don't want him to have great games against them. But whatever, to each his own. Who else had a good game on here as I was looking at the paper with the Sacramento game? Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga, 12 for Kuminga, 10 for Moody. And just real quick to get into with them, I like the way that they both have been playing. The aggressiveness that they both have been portraying on the court has been amazing to see. Jonathan Kuminga has always had the aggressiveness, but it's great to even see it more in Moses Moody. And I've become even more of a fan of Moses Moody, seeing the growth in his game, knowing that he's worked out with Steph in the offseason and starting to see how that's starting to show on the basketball court. Loving what I'm seeing from Moses Moody. He needs more minutes out there on the floor. Defensively, he's in the right place. He's coming up with steals. He's coming up with the loose balls. He's getting on the floor, being able to be a workhorse out there if you're a 2K gamer. Being a workhorse. He's always the first one to the ball. So loving what I'm seeing from Moody. Also, his three-point shooting has been amazing so far to start the season, even though it's only been 3 games. So love to see that from Moody. Hope to see even more growth. I want him to average around 12 points per game. 12 to 15, and that's where I'll be like, yes, Moody's going to be perfectly fine. As for Jonathan Kuminga, again, he's always aggressive. That's not anything against Kuminga. He's going to always be aggressive, going towards the back bucket, trying to get downhill. The one thing with Kuminga that I want him to be able to really start to get into is starting to look for the open man when he does get downhill and they kind of collapse or build a wall against him. He needs to be able to see that there's an open guy in back of him for a three-point shot, or there's an open guy to the corner for the three-point shot. He needs to be able to have his eyes open and have that tunnel vision to be able to see that there's other guys out there that are wide open. Well, not tunnel vision, but he needs to be able to have the goggles to be able to know that there's other guys that are open, especially when they collapse in, because he's going to go downhill to the bucket. So those are things that Kuminga has to work on, and also not pouting when things don't go his way. The first 3 games when Kuminga comes in the game, they have not went his way. The first game, I believe he picked up 3 fouls. Second game, couple turnovers, he ends up getting pulled. And then this game against the Houston Rockets, it was 2 fouls, 2 turnovers. And he pouts every single time. Kuminga has to learn not to pout because things isn't going his way. You know, it's the basketball, next play mentality every time, and that's what he has to have moving forward. So if he can start to get that, I don't think that there will be anything in Kuminga's path to be able to become at least an all-star in this league. Moving forward to the Houston Rockets game, the game I just got, the score. 122-114, the Golden State Warriors win their first game. And they actually win their first game on the road as well. So we don't have to worry about the road wolves this year for the Warriors. They will be road warriors this year. That's pretty much almost a guarantee, barring no injuries. So let's move on to the Houston Rockets game. And the Rockets game, entertaining, man. Entertaining as hell. Excuse me. I'll say let's start off with the Rockets game. The game started off with the Warriors looking pretty damn good. Getting off to a hot start as far as shooting the ball, but the Rockets was keeping up with them as well, so it's pretty much a neck-and-neck game. And then when the second unit comes in, this second unit, because Chris Paul did not start, so this was the first game he actually comes off the bench ever during the regular season, and still he looks pretty damn good out there. Wasn't really big on the scoring aspect, really too much for Chris Paul, but as far as the running the team aspect was great, because the Golden State Warriors were able to go up 16 in the second quarter once that second unit got in the game. The second unit comprised of Chris Paul, Dario Saric, Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga, GP2. And GP2 had a phenomenal game. GP2 was 5 or 6 from the field, hit all his three-pointers out there. Defensively, he was into Fred VanVleet. Was guarding, getting blocks out there, getting steals, being the first one to the loose balls, Pauls. Just doing everything he needs to do to be a workhorse out there. And just to have 2 of those guys, him and Moody out there, being workhorses for the second unit just really shows the energy and effort that's being put forward for the second unit. And I might have to go on record to say that this is maybe the best second unit that this Golden State Warriors team, since Steph Curry has been at the helm, has ever had. The only one I could think of that's maybe close to it was maybe the Jarrett Jack and Carl Landry year with Mo Spates. That's maybe the closest thing to a second unit or to a great second unit that we had besides this one, because this one right here is phenomenal, what we've seen so far, and it's only been one game, really. The first couple games, Chris Paul did start, but we did see him again with the second unit because he went out for the rest at the first 5-minute mark and then come back in with the second unit for the second quarter. So seeing it looks great, looks great. I'm all for it if they want to continue bringing Chris Paul off the bench. I don't know if he's okay with that, but I'm for it if he starts. If he does start, I think the guy that needs to come off the bench will be Andrew Wiggins now. Just showing that I just don't like the actual energy from Wiggins all the time on the court. And that's my biggest thing. I know a lot of people would be like, you tripping, you tripping. Wiggins needs to be out there. He's our best defender. He's our second best scorer besides Steph. I get all that. But he's only that you guys say if he's engaged. And he's not always engaged out there. And at times he starts to look like, only 3 games in this season, he starts to look like Minnesota Wiggs. So I don't know how much in love that Wiggins is with the game of basketball, but at times you see how he's not really in love with the game of basketball like a lot of other of his teammates even. So if anybody has to be sacrificed for that starting lineup, I think it should be Wiggins. But if not, I think Chris Paul coming off the bench is phenomenal, and working with that unit that we have there is great. I just will feel bad for Corey Joseph because his playing time would really be scarce and sporadic with Chris Paul coming off the bench. But anyway, the Houston game, again, still great game. The Houston Rockets end up making a game out of it after the Warriors do go up 16. After the third quarter, well, during the third quarter, that's when the Rockets start to make their comeback. During the fourth quarter, the Rockets complete their comeback and go up by 2. It was, I believe, 85-87 was the score with 7 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. And then it was a Curry flurry. It was a Curry flurry. There was nothing else really I could say about it. Curry 4 straight threes, and there was even one where he shake and bake on Dylan Brooks, and then after he hits the three, it was a nice step back. He yanked back, hit the three, boom, and then just hit him with the Home Alone, you know what I mean? Can't believe shocked face. So that was amazing just to see that, and that actually ends up helping the Golden State Warriors pull out the 105-96 win over the Houston Rockets. Defensively, maybe the best game of the season, holding a team to under 100 points in a game. That's great to see. The Houston Rockets is not the same Houston Rockets team from last year where they were barely able to get wins. They will be a team this year to be able to get more wins with Fred VanVleet, with Dylan Brooks, Jeff Green. You still have Jalen Green out there. They might miss Kevin Porter, even though he's pretty much gone and maybe even out the league for now, but they might miss him, but then they might not, because even though Fred VanVleet did have a horrible night tonight, only had 7 points to end the game, he's going to be a very good pickup for them. And Ime Udoka as a coach, phenomenal. The adjustments that you've seen that he made for the third quarter and fourth quarter, or the second half in general, was just great. The defense was picked up by the Houston Rockets in order to make this a game and make the Warriors work for every single possession. Love seeing that from that young team. So that was great. But again, 105-96, the Warriors are now 2-1 on this young season. Week 1, again, great stuff to see. For the teams that I said earlier, I'm going to do a new segment, teams that excite early. And I was watching League Pass pretty much all week, man. And there's been some phenomenal games, some great games. But there were some teams that I was just like, I got to watch more of these guys. I got to see more of what they can do. And one of those teams off top is the Detroit Pistons. I started watching the Detroit Pistons just to see if James Wiseman was going to get some burn, but of course that didn't happen. The decision is pretty much made that Marvin Bagley III is going to be the backup center for Jalen Duran out there in Detroit. And just watching the games, the energy, these young guys, these young athletic guys out there, you can see how quick they are to the ball. Defensively, how quick they are to the ball. Blocking shots at a ferocious rate, getting steals on the fast break. Just fun to watch. And then you have a super sub who used to play for us back in our the 2020 season, the pandemic year, if you will. Alec Burke was out there playing phenomenal ball for them, pretty much averaging 20 points a game for Detroit. But still being their steady scorer if they need a bucket to get to. But just defensively, the energy and the athleticism that Detroit Pistons team have, Monty Williams really have these guys believing that they could be something special moving forward. So that's a team for people who have NBA League Pass. If they want to watch and get some good games, or even just some entertaining teams, that's one of the teams. The other team, the Indiana Pacers. The Indiana Pacers have been very entertaining for me to watch. Starting off, I thought it was going to be the Wizards because of Jordan Poole, but nah, those games aren't even comparing to the games I've been watching with Detroit and Indiana. Indiana, I'm going to go on a limb and say, even though that this is early in the season, I think they might be a playoff team. A very young team, but still have a couple vets. What Bruce Brown has added to that team defensively and even offensively, being in the right spots, having Tyrese Halliburton at the helm as their point guard. He's going to be a distributor. He's going to go and get some layups and get downhill, make some nice shots as well, some floaters. Who else they got? Buddy Hield coming off with the three. You still have Miles Turner as your big man. They have a very nice young nucleus that I think that they're going to be able to make the playoffs. Rick Carlisle is their head coach, and have them really believing that they could be something special starting this off. Aaron Naismith, Mathurin as well. The young guys have been very athletic when it comes to getting to the cup and it comes to getting to the foul line. So Indiana and Detroit are my two exciting teams this week to watch, because I think that they are just, whether win or lose, Indiana's probably going to win just to what they've been playing. They've been winning their games. As for Detroit, they really haven't been, but still entertaining as hell when it comes to being out there on the basketball court. So those are some teams to watch moving forward. So probably every week, knowing how much I be watching League Pass at night because I have the time. Yeah, I'll give you guys some teams to watch and keep some eyes on. So yeah, the Indiana Pacers, Detroit Pistons. Boom. Keep an eye on those two teams when it comes to excitement. And then last thing, we're gonna preview this upcoming week, if you will. So preview the next week. I have written on the paper, but previewing this upcoming week. So there's gonna be a back-to-back tomorrow. against the New Orleans Pelicans, where the Warriors will play them in New Orleans. And then there's going to be the home game against the Sacramento Kings, and then they go back on the road, I believe, against OKC. So those are the 3 games coming up, and say what you want. Call me what you want. Call me a super fan or whatever. I think that 3-0 is going to be on the horizon to finish off this week. The game against Oklahoma City will be the first of the in-season tournament. So that's going to be something to really keep an eye on. I believe that game is Friday. If not Friday, then it's Saturday. That's going to be a game to keep an eye on. And then the game as well tomorrow against New Orleans. Zion has been back. New Orleans has been looking pretty damn good as far as having their nucleus in the paint, their front court, with Zion Williamson and Jonas Valanciunas. So be a very tough game for the Warriors. The Warriors would be very small out there against that big front court. Don't forget Brandon Ingram, who's also like 6'9", and he plays the 3. So it's going to be a very, very tall front court for the Warriors to deal with, but I actually think that they're up for the challenge. First time in New Orleans this year. New Orleans is going to be without a lot of their main bench guys. Trey Murphy is not going to be playing. Jose Alvarado is not going to be playing as well. So those are some big guns that they're going to be missing. So we'll see how that goes. I think that they're going to get the win. I predict again a 3-0 week for the Warriors this week coming up. That even includes the win at home against Sacramento, which I think Sacramento is going to give us a hell of a game. Might be even one of those games where we're down most of the game and have to come back at the end and win it. Because I think Sacramento's going to be ready this time. Coming around on Wednesday, I believe, is going to be that game against Sacramento at Chase Center. But again, that's my prediction, 3-0 to finish off week 2 of the Golden State Warriors 2023-2024 NBA season. And I'll be back at the end of that week, which will be on Sunday or Monday, to give you my thoughts and opinions on the week. As usual, maybe have a guest, maybe not, maybe be alone. Who knows how that goes? But, always look forward to talking to you guys on here, and talking Warriors basketball is probably my favorite thing to do. That's why a lot of times I be so enthusiastic and so energetic. Speaking about my Golden State Warriors. Been a fan ever since, again, like the title, since 1991. Maybe even before then, but my memory really doesn't serve right when it comes to that. Born in 1985, so, I'm an older cat now. So really don't remember too much shit when it comes to me being 4, 5 years old. So, if you got anything you want to ask, anything you want to mention at all, because, I'm always down for it. You could always send questions to WarriorsSince91pod@gmail.com. I'll be willing to answer those even on air, during the show. Add more time and add more quality to the content here on this podcast. Also, you can also leave things on YouTube on the comment section below. Please like and subscribe and do all that good stuff. I don't usually ask, but, trying to get in the algorithm, because I love speaking hoop.